Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedacca. I'm the founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and you're listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedacca on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And as you know, every time we do our podcast interviews, I'm talking to people who have extreme value in the world of divorce and dating and relationships and co-parenting and dating after divorce and all of those topics, because they're so important for all of us to be able to understand the dynamics of how to do it right, how to protect our children, how to avoid serious mistakes and conflict and all the things we want to avoid, and how to have a smooth transition before, during, and long, long after divorce. And so today I'm very honored to have a special guest with me who is one of the experts in the divorce equation. Her name is Mardi Winder-Adams, and Mardi has over 30 years of experience in helping high-achieving people navigate the challenges of divorce. She's a certified divorce transition and high conflict coach, as well as a credentialed distinguished mediator. And she's an international speaker, a podcast host herself, an author, a trainer with a focus on conflict resolution, communication skills, and resilience. So you could see she comes with an extremely valuable pedigree of skills and expertise and experience. And I'm just delighted to have you join us today.
Oh, Rosalind, I'm so excited to be here. And it really is my honor and privilege to be able to speak with you and your listeners.
And as many of you know, January is International Child-Centered Divorce Month. So we are going to be launching a special website. And Mardi is one of the sponsor contributors to this event. And her gift and her insight will be so valuable for all of you. So today we are talking about reducing conflict with divorce coaching. And as you can tell, Marty has such great experience in doing this. I'm really happy that we could dive into this topic. So let's start by this question. And how does divorce coaching help clients manage the overwhelm of divorce and focus on the decision making that's most beneficial and effective for their children?
Rosalind, I think this is a really good question. And I see a lot of people. I work mostly with women in the past. I just recently started working with men as well.
Mm.
And I found that really they may have different approaches to the divorce, but there's still the sense of overwhelm. If you're first time through the legal system, it is amazing how different it is than what it looks like on TV. It's a lot of work. It's gathering information, it's getting documentation together. It is trying to make day-to-day decisions that maybe you have not made in the relationship. So you may be taking on financial management when that hasn't been something that's been in your wheelhouse during the relationship, or you may be taking a greater role as a parent to your children when maybe that hasn't been the way that it's been when you've been a couple. And I think all of these issues can just lead to overwhelm. And people are often, as adults, I think we're often very hesitant to reach out for help and support during the divorce, or we reach out to the wrong professional. So I'm just going to throw it out here. Your attorney is there to represent you through the legal aspects of your divorce. Your attorney is not a therapist. They're not your best friend. They're not your strategist with how to deal with the day-to-day stuff around the divorce. And they are, in most cases, the highest paid professional on your divorce team. So working with somebody like a divorce coach who can say, okay, these are the issues you're facing. What information can you find maybe from reliable sources online to answer those questions? What questions may be best answered by a therapist? And what questions are really the purview of your legal representative can really help deal with that stress and that overwhelm. When you're feeling less overwhelmed in the divorce, you can make better decisions. And I think it also, having somebody on the team that does that really helps you ask you the question, is this what would be best for your kids? And sometimes I sound like a broken record with my clients because that's what we spend the whole session doing. Is this the best decision to help your children through this time? And it's something that can easily get, it can kind of get brushed to the side when parents are dealing with the legal, the financial, all of that, and the conflict between themselves in most cases. Sometimes the kids' well-being and best interests get pushed to the side initially during the divorce. And that can cause a lot of conflict post-divorce, as you well know.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you pointed out the distinction about what the legal team is about, because sometimes people really confuse and expect the lawyers to be doing magic in areas that they're not really educated to, and they're not qualified for, and they really don't know enough about. So that's why coaching is such an important component of the picture. And I wanted to have you discuss some of the common ways that you've seen divorce spiral out of control, and how you would, as a coach, help your clients prevent that.
There, every divorce, I really believe every divorce is unique. Yes, there's obviously this specific things that need to get resolved, but you've got two different people involved. And sometimes you have more than two people involved, because sometimes you have, I'm going to say, unfortunately, sometimes you have people that are already in new relationships that are now have a new partner or a new significant other that's coming in to put their 2 cents into the situation. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed with the need to win. I'm putting that in quotes if you're listening to this and can't see me, win during the divorce process. And that often looks like, kind of just burn everything to the ground, not literally, but, win at all costs, run up legal fees, run up trips back and forth to court. And all of that only adds to the stress and the distress that the kids are going through. And even simple things like co-parenting during the separation and divorce, you may or may not have a formal or informal co-parenting plan at that point. And so it's really up to the parents to come up with some kind of a coordinated thing until they do get some kind of legal document in place. And you can either use that time to be I want things my way. No, I want things my way situation. Or you can use that time to really try out some different options and see what works best for you as parents, but more importantly, what works best for your kids. And so some of the things that spiral out of control, I think, are that need to win, or the desire to get revenge on the other person for maybe bad behavior they did. I'm not going to, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, right? There can be times when somebody has really been inappropriate during the relationship. There could be situations, and I always sincerely hope that this is not the case of anybody listening in, but there can be cases where there's been fairly significant physical violence, or even minimal physical violence, or there's been emotional abuse or financial abuse. And in those situations, it's really important to have somebody who's going to be there to help you through this process, because it's easy for people who have been in those abusive situations to really have difficulty in navigating what can be a challenging legal system to even get recognized that they went through that kind of abuse. And so, there's all these things that can quickly spiral out of control. I think I gave a really long answer there. I'm sorry, Rosalind, but there's so many things I can think of that can spiral this out of control.
You're right. Divorce is just a very highly stressful time, and we're really dependent on the tools and strategies that you can provide to help clients achieve some clarity, because navigating this is really difficult for anyone. And especially since most people, this is the first time you're going through the experience, and you really want to depend on someone who is there for you emotionally as well as just physically and legally. And that's where your services come in. So what tools and strategies are really helpful for people?
I use a customized approach. So I don't have a specific formula that I walk everybody through. I mean, there's specific stages we go through. but I really think that one of the most important tools that people can have is to learn how to become responsive and not reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty hard when you're going through something really emotional. I always tell people there's really only two things that are going to be problematic in your divorce: your kids and your money. That's it. There's only those two areas. But boy, they're central to our life. They're central to our well-being, and they're central to our ability to see ourselves in the future. So learning how to deal with those overwhelming emotions. I work with my clients quite a bit on decision making. I don't want anybody to feel rushed to make big life decisions. So we can role play scenarios. We can talk through options. I might say to my clients, hey, you need to talk to a certified divorce financial analyst before you make these decisions. So, referring out to the right professionals. And if I could just throw this in here, Rosalind, I know a lot of times when I say, well, I'm going to refer you out to another professional, or you need a divorce team, people start thinking, oh my gosh, team equals a whole lot more money out of my pocket. And that's not always true. A lot of professionals will do a consultation call that doesn't cost anything. A realtor that's experienced, a realtor that's certified in helping people going through divorce, they don't charge you anything. There's lots of professionals. Certified divorce mortgage lender can help you. If you're going to keep the house, can you even qualify to keep the house? Like, you need to have all that information. So getting the information, having the resources, being able to provide names of vetted professionals that I myself personally know and I would trust if I was in a divorce situation. I think those kind of things are helpful. But really the personal, better communication, conflict resolution techniques, preparation for how to negotiate in a mediation settlement, if that's where you're going with that. And also practicing good self-care, sleep, nutrition, exercise, and what are you doing for your own personal well-being, spirituality, if depending on which how you like to call that. But I think it's really important to have that holistic approach to not only what's going on in your divorce, but how are you doing in the divorce? Those are some of the things that I focus on with my clients.
Oh, and they're so important. I'm glad you mentioned that, because you really are holistic in your approach. Our emotional health and mental health play a big part in how we can move ahead the most effective way and not get waylaid by the stress and the layers and layers of things that are on your to-do list at this time. Before we move ahead, Marty, I want to give people an opportunity to find out how they can find you and your services.
The best way to go right now is to go to www.divorcecoachforwomen, and that's the number 4, divorcecoachforwomen.com. If you're a woman, if you are a man, this website will be up very shortly. If it's not up when you're hearing this, www.poscs.com.
Very good. Thank you. So it's very important to me that we talk about the child-centered approach to parenting during and after the divorce, because that's the heart of my universe and why I founded the Child-Centered Divorce Network. So what are some of your insights about how we can do that, keeping our kids in mind so that they're protected and have the smoothest experience going through the divorce and transitioning after it?
Well, Rosalind, I know you and I have had these conversations. You've been on my podcast. We've done different events together. And I think that one of the things that I really feel is so important is to recognize that you can control what you do and how you parent your child, but you can't control how the other parent chooses to parent, or what decisions they make in their home with their children. So I think focusing in on how you can be the best parent to your child. And that means I typically don't work with people after divorce. I work with them up to the point where they get divorced. And so I think as early as possible in the process, talking to your partner and saying, look, we may not get along and we're not going to agree on everything, but I'd like us to agree that we're going to work together to make this as smooth a process as we can for our children. and keeping those child-centered conversations separate from any of the financial asset, debt, liability, 401k, any of those discussions need to be separate from our children. And really exploring ways that you can be effective in your new role as a co-parent, and letting go of the fact that you are no longer a couple. You're no longer going to be intimately involved in each other's lives, but you're always going to be intimately involved in the lives of your children, is really, I think, a critical kind of mindset shift to try to make. And for me, if people can start doing that early in the divorce, it helps when when they're actually doing the formal co-parenting afterwards, because they've already set themselves up that they're going to focus on being the best co-parents they can be, regardless of what goes on with the other aspects of the divorce process.
I really like that, and I think that's so important. And I think this is a good time to take a moment right now to remind everyone about International Child-Centered Divorce Month. So it's all through January, starting January 1st, and we've invited the most caring, family-oriented divorce professionals throughout the United States and also in other countries around the world to participate by providing free downloadable gifts, ebooks, e-courses, resources, video programs, complimentary coaching, a big variety of free gifts for everyone. And all you have to do is go to one website and enter your name and email address, and then you get to the free gifts page, and you could take as many as you want. You could visit as often as you want throughout the month and download as many gifts. And Marty has a wonderful gift as well in the during the month. So the address to go to is divorced with an ED, divorcedparentsupport.com. That's divorcedparentsupport.com. Very simple. Just enter your first name, your email address, and instantly you'll be on the free gift page, and you'll see what Marty is providing for you, as well as all of the other wonderful experts who are participating. And this is our 19th year of commemorating International Child-Centered Divorce Month, because January is the month when more divorce filings are initiated than any other month of the year. Everyone waits till after the holiday season, understandably. I did in my own divorce. So thank you for participating, Marty.
Well, thank you. And I think I'd like to compliment you, Rosalind, for, I don't know if people hearing this may understand that you actually got this all started. You are the founder of International Child-Centered Divorce Month. So what an accomplishment and what a gift to everybody around the world going through a divorce. I love what you're doing, and I can't say enough about how valuable the resources are from all of the professionals that are on the page.
Well, I totally agree with you, and thank you. So let me ask you this question before we have to jump off. And I wanted to talk about the transformation that you most commonly see in your clients from the beginning of coaching to the end. What is it that is taking place that keeps you going and know that you're making a meaningful difference in the lives of these clients?
I think the biggest transformation that I see is people who are, as we talked about in the very first question, overwhelmed and confused and frustrated about what's happening in trying to move their life forward through separation and divorce, and not knowing where to turn, feeling like there's just cash going out of their bank account on a constant rate to try to get through this divorce. To have them all of a sudden turn around and say, my family is still going to be my family. I want my children to be cared for. I want to be happy and healthy and okay living on my own. And to really make that transition from sort of the stereotypical higher conflict, or at least a little bit of conflict in the divorce process, to people who are willing to consider options, to be collaborative, and to work together, not just to get their divorce settled, but also to continue on to a healthy co-parenting relationship after the divorce. So that's the transition or the shift that I see, that to me is such so motivating to keep working.
Yeah, and understandably, because in our line of work, we're dealing with highly emotional people and subjects, and it's definitely something where you need hand holding. Everyone does, and it's nice to have that, to know you're working with people you can trust and people who care, who really care, and that's what I'm finding in the Child Centered Divorce Network, which is 19 years that I've been doing this work. The colleagues that I've met have been so wonderful because every one of them cares, and that's why I have a directory on my website of people who I've personally vetted: attorneys, mediators, coaches, therapists, of financial advisors, people who really care about the situation and the outcome, who are family focused. Because as you and I both know, if one is getting divorced and you don't have children, you could do crazy hanky panky and whatever goes on, ultimately one day the divorce ends and you
Right.
never have to interact with each other again. But when you have children, the whole situation is dramatically different, because these are the baby steps you're taking today are going to be impacting your lives long term. And if you're off to a bad start where there's more conflict, some attorneys leave people in a more intense situation than when they started, hating
Mhm.
each other more fearful, mistrusting each other more. That's not a good way to be moving into a situation where you're co-parenting. Do you have any insights about that?
Yeah, I think that one thing I always ask my clients, even if they've got little infants or toddlers when they're getting divorced, I always say I want you to imagine your child's high school graduation. Now imagine their graduation from college. Imagine their wedding. Imagine the birth of your first grandchild. Do you want to be uninvited from any of those events because your child has to make a decision whether to have mom or dad in the room because they can't have mom and dad in the room at the same time? And I think if we keep that in mind, and like you said, I love that, baby steps. It's not going to be a smooth path necessarily. There's going to be some, ups and downs and some bumps and some challenges along the way. But at least if you're both coming at it from, or at least one person is coming at it from the perspective of, I'm going to put my child first, I think a lot of that smooths out, and people can have great co-parenting relationships. They can, do kids' birthdays and Christmases together. It doesn't have to be so divided. It may start out that way, but gradually, based on that foundation of trust and good co-parenting skills, you can slowly start to move towards that ability to share those kind of events and celebrate your child, which is what I think all parents ultimately want to be able to do.
Well said. And I love that beginning that you had them picture those major life experiences, because I think some parents are so caught up in their immediate drama, they don't have this bigger perspective. And as coaches, we are here to remind people about this bigger picture perspective, because it's so important to understand that this is a lifelong experience, divorcing with children. And whatever decisions you're making today are going to impact not only next year, but next decade and decades ahead. And how do you want your children to speak about you when they're grown out of time? So it's very important to be mindful about all of this. And I am so grateful that you've been my guest today, Mardi Winder-Adams. You do wonderful work, and I'm honored to be a colleague of yours.
Oh, Rosalind, thank you. And I feel the exact same way. Thank you so much.
So I hope you'll visit the special website for Child Centered Divorce Month, which is divorcedparentsupport.com, and also year round to visit my website, childcentereddivorce.com. And I hope you'll join us again for the next podcast. Thank you for listening. This is Rosalind Sedacca with WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.